Welcome back to the Lostwell Chronicle. The cold bites deep in Greenland, but beneath the ancient ice, something far older than the frost itself lies hidden. A structure of impossible scale, whispered about in hushed scientific circles, then abruptly silenced. This is not a ghost story, nor a legend spun from Arctic nights. We are not dealing in folklore, nor myth, nor the speculative fancies of an overactive imagination. What you are about to hear is a story rooted in official records, suppressed reports, and the chilling testimony of those who dared to look too deep. It is a case meticulously documented, then deliberately hidden from public view, sealed away beneath layers of bureaucratic ice, much like the very citadel it concerns. This is not speculation. This is a documented, buried truth. For decades, whispers circulated among a select few worldwide. Geologists charting the shifting ice, climatologists drilling core samples, even military intelligence analysts tracking anomalies. All touched upon something that defied explanation. An engineered marvel buried for millennia, utterly alien to our historical understanding. Its very existence shattered conventional timelines. The implications were profound, threatening to rewrite the foundational texts of human civilization. Who built it? Why was it constructed in such an inhospitable, hidden place? And what secrets did its forgotten architects intend to keep locked away beneath the frozen roof of the world? The answers, when they finally surfaced, were more unsettling than any theory. They spoke of a past unknown, a civilization lost, and a deliberate act of concealment that spanned generations. This is a journey into the heart of a buried enigma, a testament to human endeavor, shrouded in a silence more profound than any wilderness. It challenges everything we believe about our past, about our origins, and about the forces that shape our present. Listen closely. Let us begin. This is Greenland's buried citadel, the forgotten architects. The Whispering Glacier. In the summer of 1962, a joint Danish-American geological survey team deployed to the vast ice sheet of northwestern Greenland. Their mission focused on deep ice core drilling, aiming to reconstruct ancient climate patterns. What they found, however, transcended mere geology. During a routine seismic scan near the Humboldt Glacier, an unexpected echo registered on their equipment. The initial readings were dismissed as equipment malfunction, then as a peculiar natural formation. Yet, repeated scans confirmed a distinct, non-natural signature. Beneath nearly a kilometer of glacial ice, a massive, geometrically regular structure seemed to be embedded. Its scale and precision defied any known geological process. Official reports indicate that the team, led by Dr. Henrik Fjord, immediately escalated their findings to Copenhagen and Washington, D.C. Within weeks, the scientific endeavor was subtly subsumed by a classified military operation. Civilian personnel were quietly recalled, replaced by specialists whose backgrounds were sealed. Early exploratory probes, according to declassified fragments of the Greenland Anomaly Report, suggested the structure was composed of an unknown composite material, exhibiting tensile strength far beyond contemporary engineering capabilities. This initial assessment created significant timeline conflicts for analysts, as no known civilization possessed such technology. The very idea challenged established historical records. The site was designated Ice Fall 7. A strict embargo on information was enforced, and all original research data was seized. Witnesses from the initial survey were reportedly debriefed extensively, with some later experiencing significant career shifts or withdrawing entirely from public life. The official public narrative shifted to a deep-seated tectonic anomaly to explain the sudden secrecy. Decades later, advancements in synthetic aperture radar and gravimetric mapping began to pierce the veil of silence. Independent satellite data, cross-referenced with newly accessible historical seismic logs, started to reveal faint but undeniable evidence of Icefall 7. These modern reanalyses, conducted by a new generation of scientists, revealed discrepancies in the original suppression efforts. Despite the renewed scrutiny, the fundamental questions persist. What colossal force engineered such a structure in the heart of the Greenland ice sheet? And why was its discovery deemed so profoundly threatening that its existence had to be erased from the collective memory for over half a century? The Whispering Glacier held its secrets, but for how much longer? Anomaly in the ice. The seismic anomaly detected in 1962 was not a vague echo, but a series of distinct, resonant patterns. These signals, logged by Dr. Fjord's team, indicated a colossal, solid object with an intricate internal structure, buried deep beneath the ice. The data suggested a highly organized, non-natural formation, prompting immediate confusion among the geologists. Initial deep penetrating radar surveys, conducted covertly after the military takeover, further refined the picture. They revealed a massive, rectilinear structure, estimated to be several kilometers in length and width, situated at an astonishing depth. The sheer scale and geometric precision defied any known natural geological phenomenon in the region. Official reports from Project Citadel, later partially declassified, documented the extreme measures taken to contain the discovery. All civilian research was terminated, and the entire area was declared a restricted zone. The initial scientific team was subjected to extensive debriefings, their original data confiscated and replaced with government-issued narratives. The most perplexing contradictions emerged from early material analysis. Subsurface probes managed to extract minute samples of the structure's exterior. Laboratory analysis, conducted under extreme secrecy, indicated a composite material exhibiting extraordinary hardness and thermal stability, properties unknown to 20th century engineering. This finding fundamentally challenged the timeline of human technological development. The official suppression extended to academic circles. Any independent research that might inadvertently stumble upon the anomaly was discreetly redirected or defunded. Documents from the period indicate a concerted effort to erase all public traces of the 1962 expedition's true findings, replacing them with benign explanations of glacial shifts or atmospheric research. In recent years, the persistent efforts of independent analysts, utilizing advancements in satellite imaging and gravitational mapping, have begun to corroborate the suppressed data. These modern ray analyses provide a clearer picture of Icefall 7, confirming its immense size and artificial nature. The structural integrity, after millennia under a kilometer of ice, remains undiminished. Yet, despite the accumulating evidence, the central question persists with chilling clarity. What advanced civilization possessed the capability to engineer such a monument, burying it beneath a mile of polar ice? And what profound secret was it designed to protect? The anomaly in the ice remains a defiant challenge to our understanding of history and human potential. Echoes of stone. The initial seismic readings, first dismissed as anomalies, began to reveal the profound truth as Dr. Fjord's team refined their analysis. The echoes were not random. They formed coherent patterns, suggesting vast, contiguous surfaces and internal divisions. This was not a mountain range or a geological fault. It was a colossal, designed entity. The very patterns suggested deliberate, colossal construction, not natural formation. Immediate confusion engulfed the scientific contingent. The structure's immense size and apparent complexity, coupled with its depth beneath ancient ice, defied all conventional archaeological and geological understanding. No known human civilization possessed the means to construct such a monument, let alone place it in a location that would have been inaccessible for millennia. The official response intensified rapidly. Following the initial military takeover, a specialized task force, known internally as Project Citadel, was established with unprecedented resources. Its primary directive was to assess the nature of the anomaly while simultaneously ensuring absolute secrecy. Copenhagen and Washington, D.C., reportedly considered the discovery a matter of extreme national and global security. Further analysis of the echoes of stone, as some researchers privately termed them, presented stark contradictions. The architectural signatures implied by the seismic data suggested an advanced, almost futuristic, understanding of material science and structural engineering. This implied an architectural sophistication that defied all known historical timelines for human development, challenging the very bedrock of established history. The suppression efforts were comprehensive and multi-layered. All original seismic tapes and accompanying field notes from Dr. Fjord's team were confiscated and replaced with fabricated data sets. Academics who had even tangential knowledge of the early Greenland surveys found their careers inexplicably stalled or redirected, enforcing a silence that lasted for decades. Such a complete erasure of genuine findings remains a hallmark of the incident. Modern reanalysis, utilizing advanced ground-penetrating radar and sophisticated sonar mapping techniques, has begun to paint a more detailed picture. These technologies, developed long after the initial discovery, penetrate the ice with greater precision, revealing the structure's internal geometry with startling clarity. These new images revealed not merely a structure, but what appeared to be an entire subterranean complex, replete with vast chambers and interconnected passages. Despite these technological breakthroughs, the core unanswered question remains: what civilization, or indeed what entity, possessed the capability and the motivation to construct such a monumental citadel beneath the Greenland ice sheet? The echoes of stone persist, challenging our understanding of ancient history and whispering of architects long forgotten. The first descent, the imperative to move beyond remote sensing, became undeniable. By late 1963, Project Citadel authorized a full-scale drilling operation, targeting a specific point on the structure's vast, flat surface, nearly a kilometer beneath the ice. This marked the first direct attempt to physically interact with what was now definitively understood as a colossal, artificial construct. The logistical challenges were immense, requiring specialized equipment flown in from multiple continents. Drilling through a kilometer of glacial ice was a monumental task, but the real difficulty began when the drill bit encountered the anomaly's surface. Official reports indicate unexpected, almost impenetrable resistance, unlike any known natural rock formation. After weeks of continuous effort employing advanced thermal and sonic drilling techniques, a narrow bore reached the surface of the buried citadel. This initial penetration, documented in heavily redacted internal logs, confirmed earlier material analyses, an extremely dense unknown composite. Drill operators reportedly described hitting solid steel, but harder, a direct contradiction to expected geological properties. The first descent was not human, but a highly specialized probe. Lowered through the narrow shaft, it was equipped with cameras, atmospheric sensors, and limited sampling tools. Data transmitted back presented immediate contradictions to established scientific principles. The internal environment was not a frozen void. Instead, the probe registered a stable, breathable atmosphere and a consistent temperate climate within the structure. According to a declassified memo from 1964, initial visual feeds revealed perfectly smooth, dark gray walls, stretching beyond the probe's limited light. There were no signs of ice, frost, or water intrusion, despite millennia of being entombed. This structural integrity and environmental control suggested engineering capability far beyond anything conceived in the 20th century, prompting confusion among overseeing engineers. The findings from this first descent were deemed highly sensitive and immediately classified at the highest levels. All direct personnel involved were subjected to strict non-disclosure agreements, and the probe's data logs were sealed, only accessible through a complex chain of command. The official narrative maintained that the drilling operation had merely encountered a unique geological formation, a claim that directly contradicted internal reports. Decades later, a fragmented transcript from a Project Citadel debriefing, released under the Freedom of Information Act, hinted at further disturbing observations from that initial probe. It spoke of non-reflective surfaces and geometry inconsistent with known physics. The true extent of what was glimpsed in those first moments remains a tightly guarded secret, a missing chapter in the official record. The unanswered question persists. What advanced technology allowed for the creation and maintenance of such an environment, deep within the ice, for an unknown duration? The first descent confirmed the existence of the buried citadel, but it simultaneously deepened the mystery of its purpose and its architects. Cartographer's curse. Following the initial probe's revelations of an internal atmosphere, the next critical phase for Project Citadel was to map the interior of the buried structure. The aim was to understand its layout, scale, and potential purpose. This task, initially seen as a straightforward engineering challenge, quickly evolved into a profound exercise in disorientation and spatial anomaly. Immediate confusion arose as the first attempts at comprehensive mapping failed spectacularly. Standard sonar and laser mapping equipment, designed for complex subterranean environments, produced inconsistent and often contradictory data. The internal geometry of the Citadel seemed to defy conventional Euclidean space, presenting impossible angles and corridors that did not align. The official response involved assembling an elite team of cartographers and topographical engineers from various international agencies. These specialists, accustomed to mapping intricate cave systems and military bunkers, were tasked with creating a coherent internal schematic. Their initial reports, however, spoke of profound difficulty and psychological strain, a detail noted in a rarely seen internal memo. Contradictions became the defining characteristic of the mapping effort. One set of scans might show a vast chamber, while a subsequent scan from a slightly different angle would depict a wall or an entirely different passage in the same location. Official records indicate that some maps showed corridors that appeared to loop back on themselves without physically connecting, or led to spaces larger than the external dimensions of the structure allowed. The suppression of these anomalous cartographic findings was swift and thorough. All original, contradictory maps and the raw data from the mapping probes were impounded and sealed under the highest classification. The cartographers involved were reportedly debriefed extensively, their findings dismissed as equipment malfunction or human error, and their subsequent careers often steered away from classified projects. This enforced silence ensured the public knew nothing of the spatial paradoxes encountered. Modern reanalysis, leveraging advanced computational models and algorithms, has attempted to reconcile these historical discrepancies. Researchers, working with fragmented and redacted data sets from the 1960s, have encountered similar, persistent inconsistencies. The latest simulations, while more robust, still struggle to construct a single, coherent, three-dimensional model of the Citadel's interior, suggesting the initial reports were not entirely unfounded. The unanswered question at the heart of the cartographer's curse remains: how could a physical structure, regardless of its origin, exhibit such baffling and seemingly impossible spatial properties? The inability to accurately map its interior suggests a fundamental challenge to our understanding of architecture and even reality itself, leaving its true form shrouded in an enigma. Shadows in the permafrost. With the initial probe confirming an internal atmosphere and mapping efforts revealing baffling geometry, Project Citadel escalated its presence. In late 1964, a small, heavily fortified research outpost, designated Station Iceworm, was established directly above the primary bore shaft. This allowed for more direct and prolonged study of the buried anomaly, enabling continuous human observation. It was during the early phases of Station Iceworm's operation that the first accounts of inexplicable phenomena began to surface. These were not structural or geological anomalies, but rather perceived sensory experiences. Personnel reported subtle, unidentifiable sounds emanating from deep within the bore, even when all instruments registered silence. These auditory disturbances were often described as faint hums or distant, rhythmic pulses. The immediate official response was to attribute these reports to the extreme isolation and psychological stress of working in such a remote, hostile environment. Medical personnel were dispatched to assess the crew's mental health, and strict regulations regarding shift duration and communication protocols were implemented. Yet, the reports persisted, often from multiple independent sources, challenging the official psychological explanation. Beyond auditory disturbances, some personnel documented fleeting visual anomalies within the bore shaft itself. These included flickers of movement or transient dark shapes observed in peripheral vision, despite the shaft being fully illuminated. These eyewitness accounts, noted in a heavily censored annex to a 1965 internal report, directly contradicted the sterile, uninhabited environment depicted in earlier probe footage. The discrepancies between official explanations and repeated witness testimonies became a significant point of internal conflict, leading to a review of the station's optical equipment. To maintain operational integrity and prevent panic, Project Citadel Command initiated a systematic suppression of these shadow reports. Official logs were altered to remove any mention of unexplained sensory input, and individuals who continued to report such phenomena were quietly reassigned or encouraged to seek psychological counseling. This enforced silence ensured that any public perception of the project remained strictly scientific and devoid of unusual claims. Decades later, independent researchers, sifting through the limited declassified archives, have found recurring patterns in the dismissed incident reports from Station Iceworm. By cross-referencing multiple, seemingly unrelated entries, they have identified consistent descriptions of phenomena that defy simple psychological explanation. These patterns suggest a systematic, if subtle, presence or activity within the buried structure, rather than isolated hallucinations. The core question remains: were these shadows in the permafrost merely the product of human perception under extreme duress, or did they represent the earliest, most unsettling indications of a deeper, unknown intelligence or mechanism within Greenland's buried citadel? The missing and altered records from this period ensure that the full truth of these early observations remains obscured, a persistent enigma beneath the ice. The language of the deep. Building upon the unsettling sensory reports from Station Iceworm, a more profound discovery emerged in early 1966. Sophisticated seismic and acoustic monitoring equipment, deployed deeper into the bore shaft, began registering highly unusual, patterned energy emissions emanating directly from the buried citadel. These were not the random vibrations of geological stress, but distinct, rhythmic pulses unlike any known natural phenomenon. Immediate confusion gripped the scientific teams. The detected signals presented a complex tapestry of frequencies and amplitudes that defied conventional analysis. They exhibited characteristics that suggested a deliberate non-random origin, yet lacked any recognizable structure that could be immediately identified as a language or code. Initial hypotheses ranged from advanced geological processes to unknown forms of exotic energy release. The official response from Project Citadel Command was swift and decisive. A specialized interdisciplinary team, including cryptographers, signal analysts, and theoretical physicists, was rapidly assembled and deployed to Station Iceworm. Their primary directive was to decipher the nature and origin of these enigmatic transmissions, focusing on identifying any known mathematical or linguistic patterns. Contradictions within the analytical data quickly surfaced. One faction of researchers, using spectral analysis, posited the signals displayed intricate mathematical sequences, suggesting an advanced, highly ordered system. Conversely, another team, focusing on temporal patterns, reported chaotic, almost random bursts that seemed to shift and evolve unpredictably. A confidential report, later redacted, highlighted these stark disagreements, indicating a deep division on how to interpret the fundamental characteristics of the signals. The implications of a structured, non-natural signal emanating from the citadel were deemed too sensitive for public knowledge. Consequently, the true nature of these emissions was subjected to an immediate and extensive suppression campaign. All raw data and analytical reports suggesting a deliberate origin were classified under Project Nightingale, with public statements vaguely attributing the anomalies to unforeseen geological pressures or instrumentation artifacts. This ensured that the world remained unaware of the potential for communication from the deep. Modern reanalysis, initiated by a declassified request in the late 1990s, has attempted to re-examine the fragmented and heavily censored Project Nightingale archives. Using advanced computational linguistics and pattern recognition algorithms, researchers have identified recurring motifs and pseudosyntax within the historical data. While no definitive translation has been achieved, The consistency of these patterns across multiple recorded instances strongly challenges the original random noise explanation. The unanswered question persists. Were the language of the deep signals merely an elaborate natural phenomenon, or did they represent a deliberate form of communication from an unknown intelligence or mechanism within Greenland's buried citadel? The deliberate suppression of key data and the conflicting interpretations from the original teams ensure that this profound enigma continues to echo through the silence of the ice, awaiting a true decipherment. A pattern unveiled. The specialized interdisciplinary team, assembled to analyze the enigmatic transmissions from Greenland's buried citadel, eventually made a breakthrough in late 1966. After months of painstaking analysis, applying advanced statistical methods and early computer processing, they identified a distinct, repeating pattern embedded within the complex acoustic and seismic signals. This was not a simple rhythm, but a sophisticated sequence of energy bursts and silences, exhibiting an internal logic that transcended random noise. Immediate confusion followed this discovery. While a pattern was unequivocally present, its nature and intent remained profoundly perplexing. It defied classification under any known human communication system, mathematical constant, or natural geological process. The sequences demonstrated a profound yet utterly alien order that hinted at deliberate construction without revealing its purpose or source. The official response from Project Citadel leadership was to elevate the classification of all related research. The discovery of a discernible, repeating pattern within the signals moved the investigation beyond mere anomaly detection into the realm of potential communication or even advanced engineering. Security around Station Iceworm and all data streams was dramatically increased, with a new directive to identify the function of this pattern, not just its existence. Contradictions quickly emerged among the analysts regarding the pattern's interpretation. One prominent theory, detailed in a heavily redacted 1967 internal memorandum, suggested the pattern was a form of self-repair or diagnostic sequence for an automated system. Another, equally compelling, argued it represented a dormant beacon designed to activate or transmit under specific, as yet unknown conditions. The conflicting interpretations highlighted the sheer lack of a frame of reference for this unprecedented discovery. To prevent any public speculation regarding intelligent, non-human activity, the existence of this sophisticated pattern was subjected to an even more rigorous suppression campaign than the initial signal detection. All findings were compartmentalized under a Code Azure directive, with only a handful of top-level officials privy to the full scope of the discovery. Publicly, the project continued to report instrumentation calibration issues or unusual ice sheet resonances to explain any persistent energy readings. Modern reanalysis, initiated decades later by independent researchers with access to fragments of the declassified Project Nightingale and Code Azure archives, has confirmed the original team's findings. Using advanced neural networks and deep learning algorithms, contemporary experts have not only verified the 1966 pattern, but have also identified subtle, nested sub-patterns that suggest layers of encoded information. These deeper structures were entirely beyond the analytical capabilities of mid-20th century technology. The unanswered question that continues to echo from the depths of the Greenland ice is profound. What was the purpose of this meticulously crafted pattern? Was it a message, a warning, a data stream, or simply the operational signature of an ancient automated system? The deliberate obfuscation and missing records from the Project Citadel era ensure that the true meaning of the unveiled pattern remains one of the most enduring mysteries surrounding the forgotten architects. The architect's mark. The identification of a complex repeating pattern within the Citadel's emissions propelled the Project Citadel team into a new phase of investigation. By early 1967, analysts, focusing on the most consistent elements of the pattern, began to isolate specific segments that appeared to function as identifiers. These segments, distinct from the broader patterned sequence, exhibited an almost signature-like quality, suggesting a deliberate mark left by the creators of the structure or the source of the signals. Immediate confusion arose from the nature of these identifiers. They were not simple, singular markers, but intricate, multi-layered signatures embedded within the larger pattern. While they consistently reappeared, their precise interpretation remained elusive. The team struggled to determine if these were structural timestamps, ownership declarations, or perhaps a form of operational key, a fundamental component of the system itself. The official response was to establish a dedicated signature analysis unit within Project Citadel. Their sole mandate was to deconstruct these identified markers, cross-referencing them with any theoretical or known advanced engineering principles. The urgency was palpable, driven by the realization that understanding this mark could unlock the purpose of the entire buried complex. Contradictions soon emerged from the signature analysis unit. Some researchers, influenced by early theories of extraterrestrial contact, proposed that the mark represented a form of star chart or celestial coordinates. Others, grounding their analysis in terrestrial physics, argued it was a highly advanced form of material composition identifier, perhaps detailing the unique properties of the Citadel's construction. A confidential report from March 1967 documented these irreconcilable differences, highlighting the profound lack of a conceptual framework. The implications of discovering what appeared to be a deliberate architect's mark were deemed too destabilizing for public disclosure. The possibility of an unknown intelligence leaving a signature on Earth, buried beneath the ice, necessitated absolute secrecy. All research related to these identifiers was classified under Operation Deep Mark, with any public queries met with stonewalling or misleading information about geological surveys. This ensured the true nature of the discovery remained deeply buried. Modern reanalysis, leveraging advanced algorithms unavailable in the 1960s, has provided new insights into these architects' marks. Contemporary researchers have noted a striking fractal geometry within the most consistent identifiers, suggesting a design principle far beyond human engineering capabilities of the era. This fractal nature implies a self-similar complexity at different scales, a characteristic often associated with highly optimized or naturally occurring systems. The unanswered question remains, what does this architect's mark truly signify? Is it a declaration of origin, a functional key to the Citadel's operations, or a profound statement of engineering prowess from an unknown civilization? The deliberate suppression of the initial findings, coupled with the profound complexity of the mark itself, ensures that this signature, buried deep beneath the ice, continues to defy full comprehension, a silent testament to its mysterious creators. Whispers from the void. Following the meticulous identification of the architect's mark, the Project Citadel team began to detect an additional, more elusive phenomenon. Intermittent, extremely low-frequency acoustic emissions started to register alongside the structured patterns and the signature identifiers. These new signals were faint, sporadic, and appeared to lack the deliberate, organized nature of the previously identified transmissions. Immediate confusion ensued regarding the origin and significance of these ephemeral sounds. They manifested as subtle vibrations and almost imperceptible tonal shifts, barely rising above the ambient noise of the ice sheet and the distant hum of station iceworms' equipment. Unlike the clear patterns, these whispers seemed random, defying any attempt at logical sequencing or classification. The official response was cautious, initially categorizing these new detections as potential instrumentation, anomalies, or environmental interference. However, as the faint signals persisted over several weeks, a small, specialized subunit was tasked with rigorous filtering and analysis. Their directive was to determine if these were genuine emanations from the Citadel, despite their unstructured nature. Contradictions quickly arose within the analytical team. Some experts argued these were merely residual echoes, acoustic reverberations within the vast subterranean complex, a byproduct of the primary energy source. Others, noting a disconcerting lack of periodicity, suggested a more complex origin, perhaps indicating a secondary, less powerful system operating independently. A classified report from late 1967 highlighted these conflicting interpretations, emphasizing the signal's elusive qualities. The existence of these faint, unstructured acoustic emissions was subjected to even stricter suppression than the primary signals. They were deemed too ambiguous and potentially unsettling to be included in any official reports, even internal ones, beyond highly compartmentalized channels. Records concerning these specific signals are notably sparse and fragmented, suggesting a deliberate effort to minimize their documentation and any potential alarm. Modern ray analysis, utilizing advanced digital signal processing techniques unavailable in the 1960s, has brought new clarity to these once dismissed whispers. Contemporary researchers have managed to isolate a subtle, almost subliminal resonance within the archived data, suggesting a complex internal environment or an extremely low-power operational state. This reanalysis confirms the original team's faint detections were indeed genuine, albeit beyond their full comprehension. The unanswered question that persists is the true nature of these whispers from the void. Are they simply the structural sounds of an ancient, slowly decaying complex, groaning under the immense pressure of the ice? Or do they represent something far more profound, a lingering trace of the forgotten architects, an unconscious hum of a system still operating at the very edge of detection, or perhaps even a dormant consciousness awaiting an unknown trigger? The lack of definitive answers only deepens the enigma. The price of knowledge. As the Project Citadel team delved deeper into the complex signals and the unsettling whispers from the void, a new, more insidious discovery began to emerge: the profound psychological toll on the personnel. The immense pressure of the secret project, coupled with the escalating strangeness of their findings, started to manifest in tangible ways among the scientists and military staff. Reports of chronic insomnia, anxiety, and a pervasive sense of unease became increasingly common within the isolated station Iceworm. Immediate confusion arose regarding the cause of this pervasive distress. Initially, symptoms were attributed to the extreme environmental conditions of Greenland, the isolation, or the demanding work schedule. However, as the discoveries intensified, from the structured patterns to the architect's mark and the faint acoustic emanations, a growing number of personnel reported feelings of disorientation, paranoia, and even fleeting auditory or visual disturbances not attributable to the external environment. The official response was to implement stricter psychological evaluations and mandatory rotation schedules for key personnel. The military oversight recognized the potential for operational compromise if the mental state of the team deteriorated further. These measures, however, were often driven by security concerns, ensuring that no information was inadvertently leaked, rather than a genuine focus on the long-term well-being of the individuals. Contradictions soon became apparent in the internal health assessments. While official reports often cited polar fatigue or stress-related incidents, confidential medical logs from early 1968 painted a far more disturbing picture. Several high-ranking scientists, initially robust and mentally resilient, exhibited symptoms consistent with severe existential dread or even a form of acute cognitive dissonance, struggling to reconcile their scientific training with the inexplicable reality unfolding beneath the ice. This contradicted the benign explanations provided to external oversight committees. The information concerning the psychological impact on Project Citadel personnel was subjected to an even higher level of suppression than the technical findings. Any incidents of severe distress, breakdown, or early termination of service due to mental health issues were meticulously scrubbed from accessible records. Those individuals affected were often quietly reassigned or discharged with vague medical pretexts, ensuring that the human cost of the discovery remained deeply buried alongside the Citadel itself. Modern reanalysis of declassified, though heavily redacted, personnel files and internal memos from the period offers a chilling glimpse into the true extent of the psychological damage. Contemporary researchers note a distinct pattern of trauma response, not unlike that experienced in high-stress, high-secrecy environments. The constant exposure to the unknown, coupled with the absolute prohibition on discussing their work outside the compound, created an unprecedented mental burden. The unanswered question that persists is the precise nature of this price of knowledge. Was the sheer weight of the discoveries themselves inherently destabilizing to the human psyche, forcing a confrontation with a reality beyond comprehension? Or was it the enforced silence and isolation, the burden of holding such a profound secret, that ultimately broke the minds of those closest to Greenland's buried citadel? The true human cost remains a haunting, unquantified variable in the story of the forgotten architects. Frozen memories. As the psychological toll on Project Citadel personnel intensified, a new and unsettling pattern emerged among those rotated out-of-station iceworm, fragmented and often contradictory memories of their time beneath the ice. Numerous individuals, particularly those who had spent extended periods in close proximity to the discovery, reported difficulty recalling specific events, or experienced vivid but disjointed flashbacks that defied logical sequencing. These frozen memories became a troubling symptom of their post-service lives. Immediate confusion surrounded these accounts. Medical staff and military psychologists initially attributed the memory issues to severe stress, post-traumatic reactions to the extreme environment, or the psychological interventions themselves. The official stance was that these were manifestations of the polar fatigue and mental strain, already acknowledged, rather than any direct consequence of the Citadel's influence or the classified nature of the work. The official response to these memory discrepancies was swift and systematic. Personnel exhibiting significant memory gaps or inconsistent recollections underwent extensive debriefings and psychological counseling, often with a focus on reorienting their narratives to align with approved project details. Records indicate a protocol for verifying and, if necessary, correcting individual recollections to maintain a cohesive, authorized version of events, particularly concerning sensitive discoveries. Contradictions within these debriefing transcripts became a significant concern for internal security. While many accounts were dismissed as stress-induced fabrication, a disturbing number of individuals, interviewed separately, reported similar, highly specific yet unconfirmed details. These details often pertain to unusual energy fluctuations or brief, unexplained shutdowns of equipment, which directly conflicted with the sanitized operational logs. Lack of corresponding official reports for these events raised questions about the veracity of documented timelines. The suppression of these divergent memories was comprehensive. Any personal notes, journals, or unofficial communications that hinted at inconsistent recollections were systematically confiscated or discredited. Individuals who persisted in recounting unapproved memories often found their medical records updated with diagnoses that questioned their reliability, effectively silencing their claims and ensuring their experiences remained outside the official narrative. Modern reanalysis, drawing upon declassified psychological evaluations and heavily redacted interview transcripts, paints a different picture. Researchers have identified recurring motifs and shared anecdotal fragments that, when cross-referenced, form a mosaic of experiences far richer and more unsettling than official reports allowed. This reanalysis suggests that the memory issues were not merely random psychological breakdown, but perhaps a collective amnesia or cognitive dissonance stemming from a deliberately obscured reality. The unanswered question that persists is the true nature of these frozen memories. Were they simply the byproduct of extreme trauma and isolation, compounded by the intense secrecy? Or did the very presence of the buried citadel, with its unique energy signatures and unknown properties, actively contribute to the distortion or selective erasure of critical information from the minds of those who encountered? The true extent of what was forgotten, or perhaps deliberately made to be forgotten, remains a profound mystery. The Citadel awakens. The initial phase of Project Citadel, focused on analysis and containment, was abruptly shattered by a series of unprecedented events that signaled a dramatic shift in the buried structure's status. After years of passive observation and data collection, the Citadel began to exhibit signs of active internal processes, moving beyond mere energetic emanations. The change was subtle at first, then rapidly escalated, fundamentally altering the operational parameters of Station Iceworm. Immediate confusion rippled through the command structure as the Citadel's behavior defied all previous models and predictions. Instruments designed to monitor static energy fields suddenly registered dynamic fluctuations, indicating a directed, non-random internal activity. The whispers from the void intensified, no longer faint background noise but distinct, patterned transmissions detected across multiple frequencies, suggesting a deliberate broadcast rather than residual energy. The official response was a rapid increase in security protocols and an immediate halt to all direct physical interaction with the primary chamber. General Maxwell, in a series of urgent encrypted communications, ordered a comprehensive re-evaluation of all scientific theories regarding the Citadel's nature. The priority shifted from understanding to containing the unexpected activation, reflecting a sudden and profound apprehension within the military leadership. Contradictions within the new data immediately emerged. While early reports emphasized a gradual awakening, internal telemetry logs from March 1971 show a distinct, near-instantaneous surge of activity. This sudden jump in power output and data transmission conflicted with the narrative of a slow, organic reawakening, suggesting an external trigger or a pre-programmed activation sequence. The timeline of events became a point of intense internal debate and scrutiny. The suppression of this critical timeline discrepancy was absolute. Any reports indicating an abrupt, rather than gradual, activation were flagged, amended, or outright dismissed as instrument malfunction or operator error. The official narrative, carefully crafted for external review, maintained that the Citadel's reawakening was a slow, emergent phenomenon, thereby minimizing the perceived threat of a sudden, uncontrolled event. Modern reanalysis of the raw telemetry data, painstakingly reconstructed from fragmented magnetic tapes and backup logs, unequivocally supports the instantaneous activation theory. This re-evaluation reveals a singular, high-energy pulse emanating from the Citadel's core, preceding the sustained activity by mere milliseconds. This data strongly suggests a deliberate, perhaps even automated, initiation of the structure's primary functions. The unanswered question that now loomed over Project Citadel was profound. What prompted this awakening? Was it a natural, cyclical process, reaching a predetermined point in a millennia-long cycle? Or was the Citadel's activation a direct, perhaps even hostile, response to the human presence, to the probing instruments, or to some other unknown trigger? The forgotten architect's creation was no longer dormant. It was awake, and its intentions remained entirely unknown. Betrayal in the White. The awakening of the buried Citadel introduced an unprecedented level of internal stress and paranoia within Station Iceworm, culminating in a series of deeply unsettling incidents that revealed a profound breach of trust. The once unified command structure began to fracture under the pressure, leading to accusations of sabotage, unauthorized communications, and divided loyalties among the highly specialized personnel. The desolate environment amplified every suspicion. Immediate confusion enveloped the station when critical data logs began to disappear or were found to be deliberately corrupted. Access codes were compromised, and secure channels exhibited signs of unauthorized interception. These events coincided with the Citadel's increased activity, making it unclear whether the breaches were an external threat, an internal one, or somehow influenced by the structure itself. Trust eroded rapidly among the isolated team. The official response, spearheaded by General Maxwell, was a comprehensive internal investigation, codenamed Operation Snowblind. Every individual was subjected to intense scrutiny, psychological profiling, and polygraph examinations. The station was placed under a virtual lockdown, with all communications restricted to high-level command channels. The priority was to identify the source of the breaches and restore the integrity of the project's data and security. Contradictions emerged almost immediately within the investigation. While initial findings pointed to a small group of disgruntled scientists, Later evidence suggested a more intricate web of complicity, extending to individuals previously considered beyond reproach. Several personnel, including a senior communications officer, were found to have been transmitting encrypted messages to an unknown external recipient, a direct violation of standing orders. The content of these messages remains largely classified. The suppression of the full truth surrounding these betrayals was extensive. Official reports minimized the number of individuals involved and downplayed the severity of the intelligence leak. The public narrative for decades maintained that the internal issues were minor, isolated incidents of stress-induced misconduct. The true extent of the unauthorized information transfer and its implications for national security were deliberately obscured from official records. Modern reanalysis of declassified court-martial documents and redacted intelligence reports reveals a far more coordinated effort. Evidence suggests that a faction within the project, driven by a mixture of scientific curiosity, ideological conviction, or perhaps external coercion, sought to bypass established protocols and disseminate information about the Citadel's awakening. This reanalysis challenges the long-held belief of a purely unified project goal, suggesting fundamental disagreements from within. The unanswered question at the heart of betrayal in the White is the ultimate destination and purpose of the leaked information. Who were the recipients of these unauthorized transmissions, and what was their agenda concerning the Greenland Citadel? Was the betrayal an attempt to warn the world, to exploit the discovery, or to facilitate an agenda entirely separate from the official mission? The true beneficiaries of this internal breach remain shrouded in mystery, leaving the legacy of Project Citadel forever tainted by internal division. The architect's legacy. The awakening of the Greenland Citadel, coupled with the relentless decryption efforts on the recovered non-human data, began to shed a faint, unsettling light on the intentions of its forgotten architects. It became increasingly clear that the colossal structure was far more than a mere power source or a dormant research facility. Instead, it revealed itself as a vast, intricate repository of knowledge, a digital archive of immense scale, and potentially a beacon designed for interstellar communication. Immediate confusion permeated Station Iceworm as the implications of this discovery unfolded. The long-held assumption of the Citadel as an inert, ancient relic was fundamentally shattered. The prospect of a deliberate, active archive, potentially capable of transmitting or receiving information across vast distances, redefined the entire scope and perceived threat of Project Citadel. The mission parameters shifted dramatically, from containment to understanding, and ultimately to control. The official response, under General Maxwell's direct command, prioritized a complete comprehension and, critically, the secure management of this newly understood legacy. The military's focus rapidly moved beyond simple scientific curiosity towards assessing the strategic implications of such advanced technology. Directives were issued to accelerate decryption, but also to develop protocols for neutralizing any potential external communication the Citadel might initiate. Contradictions within the newly accessible data immediately emerged, complicating all interpretations. Some decrypted segments indicated a benevolent knowledge-sharing purpose, suggesting the architects intended to preserve and disseminate their civilization's history and technological advancements. Other fragments, however, strongly hinted at a defensive mechanism, a warning system designed to alert against an unknown, existential threat. This profound discrepancy fueled intense internal debates, with experts offering wildly divergent theories on the architect's ultimate intentions, creating a deeply fractured understanding. The suppression of these conflicting interpretations was swift and absolute. Fearing panic, public outcry, or unauthorized attempts to engage with the Citadel, the official narrative emphasized the structure's scientific and technological potential within a strictly controlled military framework. Any information suggesting a beacon or warning function, particularly one related to an external threat, was meticulously downplayed or recontextualized to fit a more palatable, less alarming narrative kept from all but the highest-level security clearances. Modern reanalysis, incorporating previously leaked fragments from the betrayal in the White Incident and leveraging advanced linguistic AI, offers a more comprehensive, albeit still an unsettling, picture. The architect's legacy appears to be a complex, multi-layered system designed for long-term survival and the propagation of critical information, possibly across vast cosmic distances. The collective data points towards an ancient civilization facing an undeniable, perhaps unavoidable, existential crisis. The ultimate unanswered question regarding the architect's legacy remains their final message. Was the Citadel intended to be a silent monument to a lost civilization, a desperate warning to future intelligences, or an active instrument designed to reconnect with a distant past or summon a specific future? The true scope of their final intent, and what they truly left behind for humanity to discover, continues to elude complete comprehension. Silence returns. The profound, resonant hum that had emanated from the Greenland Citadel for weeks, signaling its active state and the transmission of the architect's legacy, finally began to recede. The intricate, pulsating light patterns that had illuminated the depths of the ice slowly dimmed, retreating into the colossal structure until only the faint, internal glow of its core remained. This cessation was not gradual, but an abrupt, deliberate powering down, returning the ancient mechanism to a state of profound, almost absolute, silence. Immediate confusion rippled through Station Iceworm. After the intense period of data acquisition and the revelation of the Citadel's true purpose as a vast informational archive, the sudden dormancy was unexpected. Was this the conclusion of its operational cycle? A deliberate act by its long-gone creators to transmit their final message? Or merely a temporary pause before another, unknown phase? The silence after weeks of activity was deeply unsettling to the isolated team. The official response, under General Maxwell's direct command, was to declare the primary objective achieved. The retrieval of the architect's legacy was deemed complete, and the immediate threat of uncontrolled energy emissions or external communication was deemed neutralized. Station Iceworm began a systematic demobilization, though a highly specialized, covert monitoring presence was established to observe any future changes in the Citadel's status. The site was designated a permanent, restricted military zone. Contradictions regarding the Citadel's true state emerged even as the demobilization commenced. While official reports asserted a complete shutdown, internal sensor logs, later partially declassified, indicated persistent, anomalous energy fluctuations for months following the main cessation. These were officially dismissed as residual effects or geological disturbances, yet a minority of project scientists argued they hinted at a deep standby mode, suggesting the structure was merely dormant, not entirely inactive. The suppression of these ambiguities was comprehensive. The public was informed that the geological anomaly had stabilized and posed no further threat, its scientific study concluded. The vast, non-human data acquired, the implications of an ancient, advanced civilization, and the true nature of the architect's legacy were entirely omitted from public discourse. A renewed impenetrable veil of secrecy descended upon the Greenland ice, thicker and more enduring than before. Modern reanalysis, decades later, drawing upon fragmented declassified documents, whispered testimonies from former Iceworm personnel, and advanced geophysical modeling, paints a more nuanced picture. While the Citadel has never reactivated to its previous intensity, periodic faint energy signatures continue to emanate from its buried location. These subtle shifts, often dismissed as natural phenomena, suggest a persistent, albeit low-level, operational state within the colossal structure. The ultimate unanswered question, therefore, is not whether the Citadel is truly silent, but for whom that silence is maintained. Was its mission completed, its message delivered, and its purpose fulfilled? Or does the structure patiently wait, a silent sentinel beneath the ice, for a specific trigger, a cosmic alignment, or the arrival of another intelligence to awaken its dormant power once more? The Greenland ice holds its secrets, a profound, buried enigma, its final purpose still beyond human grasp. We have journeyed deep beneath the Greenland ice, unearthing a story of discovery, ambition, and profound mystery. The architect's legacy, a testament to an ancient, forgotten civilization, challenges our understanding of history and our place in the cosmos. This is not merely a tale of science fiction or a thrilling legend. It is a documented account, pieced together from fragments of official reports, leaked data, and the hushed confessions of those who stood witness. It is a narrative rooted in the chilling reality of what humanity encountered and subsequently chose to conceal. The decision to suppress the truth, to bury the architect's message deeper than the ice itself, carries a heavy burden. It speaks to a recurring human impulse to control the unknown, even at the cost of genuine understanding. The consequences of such a choice, the missed opportunities for growth, and the potential dangers of ignorance continue to resonate. For all the demobilization and the return to official silence, the mystery of the buried citadel does not truly rest. It pulses faintly, an echo beneath the vast white expanse, a constant reminder of what lies hidden. The Greenland ice sheet endures, a silent guardian over its monumental secret. And within its depths, the colossal structure, the silent archive of a forgotten people, waits. Its purpose, its final message, and its ultimate fate remain an open question, a challenge to future generations. We invite you to consider the implications of this story. Tell us, where are you listening from, and what time is it for you now, as these echoes reach you? The ice holds its secrets, and some secrets, once disturbed, can never truly be returned to the dark.